going to check the chat box to the right of me just to make sure that we are live. I got to hit the make webinar live button. So 1 second.
Okay.
Okay. And I think I'm going to do this without glasses, even though I can barely see now, but that's okay. Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, we are live. Hello and welcome. Welcome to tonight's official case study. I'm just going to give it a second because I do have, I probably should mute my computer. I do have the chat box pulled up beside me, so it's probably going to give a little bit of a reverb, hopefully not. So tonight we are speaking with Kevin Matthews. He is one of my former coaching clients. We actually just finished up his 8-week session, and he had some amazing and incredible results. Actually, I wanted to bring those results up, but I'll let him talk about it. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I would love to just hear from your, perspective and your point of view, what it was like working with someone to help you along the way.
Yeah, I would say it was kind of like having a translator, because for so long I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted to speak to my clients, but just could not figure out the right language or the right way and the right systems to really make it happen.
So basically it was like having somebody there to kind of just guide you through the process.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just saw Melissa, she popped into the chat box. Hey, Melissa, thanks for joining. So, I do want to sort of make this like a case study, and I know that we haven't practiced any of the questions, or I didn't really tell you what I was going to ask you about, so it is going to kind of be, sort of thrown at you. But, on top of, just hearing about your, original experience, can you tell me what made you decide to reach out and work with someone?
Yeah, I think the main reason was that I didn't feel like I was reaching my full potential. I had experience in my field. I've been kind of on and off blogging for 6 years. I wasn't seeing the results. I've seen everyone else kind of pass me by, but I wanted to get the results and the growth that I feel like I was due.
So you were seeing, other people having success, and you're like, hey, I'm 6 years in, like this should be happening for me too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what made you decide to reach out to me specifically? Because there are a lot of business coaches out there. And actually, this is one of the questions that I ask, most people when they reach out to me, like, what makes you come to me and choose me to be your marketing strategist?
Yeah, it was two big reasons. The first one was that I'd seen you on Periscope for a while. I'd been following you on Twitter. So that's how I kind of got familiar with you. I saw a lot of videos and knew that the tips were going to work and that they had been working for me in the past. The second biggest reason is that you've kind of been in the field as far as on the personal finance coaching piece of it. And I wanted someone who knew my experience and knew what I was going through. You had been through it exactly, as opposed to everything being in theory.
That's true. So that's a good point. So finding someone who matches up with exactly what it is you're wanting to do, whether it's they were able to find clients, or whether they were in your exact field, like you said, because I did have the personal finance blog, and I still have that. So
right.
So when we first started working together, we had basically a setup of, you had homework and then we did phone calls. How did you like that setup where, you were given specific tasks and things to do, and then, we had to, sort of talk about them further on the phone calls? Do you feel like that helped you get everything done, or, what was that part of it like?
For me, it definitely helped me get things done, because between doing what I'm doing personally, between work, between having a life and everything, it was good to have that accountability to say, like, here's what you have to do exactly. And then I'm going to ask you about these specific items when we meet. So it was good to have that accountability.
Yeah, I know that's a huge part of it. And I just saw Jamie just popped into the chat box. She said, "Are we late?" You're not late. We actually just got started. We've just been talking about, his experience so far. And I know that like with the homework, it's true. I sort of set it up as this is what I need you to do. And then let's talk about it in 2 weeks. And, it's going to be very similar in my program, 30 Days to Client Praise, because, I'm going to have the lessons, the homework, and then we're going to have our live calls all together where, you will have to, start talking about what you've done and what you've accomplished. So speaking of what you've accomplished, can you tell us a little bit about what your goals were? Not what you accomplished yet, but what your goals were when we first started working together.
Yeah, I had a few. I wanted to increase my book sales. That was one of my goals. I wanted to launch my first webinar. I wanted to do a workbook, and then I think I wanted to raise, I think it was 1,500 per month is what I wanted to get in total income.
Okay, so let's talk about book sales. What were your book sales, and like how did they increase?
Yeah, my book sales shot up 30, I think it was 30 or 35%. And they've been relatively consistent since then, which is really, really good. And then your second question on that was?
No, that was it. I wanted to know what the
Okay.
increase was.
Yeah, it was about 30%, which was a huge boost.
So one of the good things, and this is just kind of a side note that I'm thinking about, one of the really cool things with Kevin is that, he was keeping track of everything. Like, I don't know if he had a notebook, if he had a spreadsheet, but when I asked him, specifically, okay, how many people are coming on your Periscopes? He was like, oh, I've been tracking it over the last, the last few times. And I was just like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So when you came to me and I was like, okay, let's talk about what you've accomplished, and you came to me with your numbers, I was like, okay, I know these are legit because I know that he's been keeping track, and that's part of what you do. You're a financial advisor, and you were able to get some clients also when we were working together.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go to that, let's talk about how we increased your book sales. So what do you think was something that really helped to start moving the needle on book sales?
Yeah, so what we did was create a system. So I had published the book 2 years ago now. And what we did, we created the freebie option. So people who were coming onto the Periscopes had an option to join my mailing list, which I did not have previous to the program. So they get the first two chapters. And a lot of people got lured in and loved the book enough to go out and buy it. So we did that, and then we also changed my branding strategy for my Periscopes to really get a consistent theme going, which really pushed more people towards the book as well.
That's a really good point. We are gonna be talking about email freebies, but that was one thing that I felt like, you didn't have in place at first that would have been, really high impact. I didn't know how much it was going to move the needle. To be honest, when I come up with the strategy, like, I don't know what the impact is going to be. I just know that there is going to be an impact. So for them to increase by 30%, for your book sales to increase by 30%, that's amazing. But I knew that having that freebie would help, for people to come and join your email list. And I also just saw Daquan popped into the chat box. So hello and welcome. Okay, next question. So what about so we worked on your Periscopes, and I feel like you were doing a really good job with Periscope already. What do you feel, what do you think changed when we started working together? What changed on your Periscopes that you feel helped your business?
Mm-hmm. I would say kind of the structure of the Periscopes. The content stayed the same, but how I phrase certain things, how I made the Periscope a little more personable. For example, before it was just whoever's on Periscope, I just talk to you just in general. But I really learned how to take care of my audience and greet people when they came in, And I kind of started to notice like who's in my classroom, if you will. So that was a part of it, and then being able to relate the content of the Periscope to a book or webinar or whatever I'm doing, to kind of grow that base and grow my audience.
And those people that started to connect with you on Periscope, like they really enjoyed following you. They started to really support you. And do you feel like you made better and deeper connections with your tribe?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think through the program, I've been able to create a tribe, and then also to really connect with them and grow with them.
So the other thing that you were able to use, so we had the email freebie, you increased sales of your book, and then we took that and created and launched your first webinar, which is something that you said was one of your goals. So can you talk to
Yeah.
me about the process of doing the webinar? I know you were a little nervous about it at first. I thought you pulled it off flawlessly, but can you tell us about the process of setting up your webinar?
Yeah, I was definitely nervous at first because I ran into some tech issues like 2 minutes before, um, but the process was good. The process was to with continue to build my tribe and to have that tribe come onto the webinar, and I did that by almost doing I guess a pre-work, if you will, sequence. So we went through and did a series of periscopes that led into the webinar, and then we launched the webinar from there.
Do you feel like that helped you gain more email subscribers by doing the Periscope series?
Yeah, definitely. Again, when I started the program, I had 0 subscribers, didn't have a list, didn't have anything. And I think between the time we started and the time the webinar began, I had 77 subscribers,
So you
and now that's up to I think like 85 or so.
that's amazing. So like in the span of less than 6 weeks, you almost got to 100 subscribers. Um,
Exactly.
People will say, and I agree, the first 100 subscribers is the hardest.
Hmm.
Um, Mostly because you're still trying to figure out your audience, you're still trying to figure out where they're hanging out, and you're still trying to put a plan in place to like get them on your list and continue speaking with them. So that is, that's one of the hardest things. I thought you did a really good job with that. And, that's also, part of the 30 Days to Client Praise course. We're going to be talking about, email, how to get them on your list, how to, talk to them, continue nurturing, where to find your tribe and all of that. So, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about is based on what I've done with my one-on-one coaching clients. And so you'll have the opportunity to essentially get the exact same curriculum for a fraction of the price, honestly. So going back to the webinar, you were able to get to book a couple of new clients. So can you tell us about that process and how those new clients came to you?
Yeah, the clients came through the webinar and how we set the webinar up, but then also the process to getting them was a lot easier. I think we use Acuity, which is a calendar scheduling app that allow me to kind of make a seamless process to schedule calls. So basically, we had the webinar. I put out the link to say, hey, if you want to schedule a call with me, you can. They click the link and it would show up on my calendar. So that was an incredible process and tool to use because previously it did not work nearly as smooth.
So what were you using previously? I'm curious.
Email or text saying, hey, let's talk on Friday at 8 or something. And it would kind of go from there.
So that's another thing that I'm really big on. I'm really big on systems, especially because you have to think now like you are a much bigger business than what you are now. Because by the time you get to that point where you need those systems, it's really too late
Yeah.
by then.
Hmm.
And you're scrambling. So it's important to have those systems in place. So like you said, what we did was we set up Acuity for you. All they do is click the link, they schedule a time to chat with you, and then you can sort of talk to them. So did those clients find you? Like, how did those clients find you, and how many clients did you book?
I think I ended up booking 7
Wait, for
between.
real?
I think so. I think I ended
I
up
didn't
booking.
get the latest update.
Yeah. I ended up booking 7,
Wow.
and well, yeah, seven scheduled calls. I think 4 became clients.
Okay, 7 calls and 4 clients. Okay, that's
Yeah,
I had 3 clients listed, so you got 4 clients, so that's good.
yeah, I got 4. So that I ended up getting 4 clients. But before I get to that, the one extra thing that helped with that tool with Acuity is that beforehand I would either call or text a client and say, hey, let's set up a meeting. That would physically have to send them an email with the questionnaire. So as soon as they sign up, I get their questionnaire online. So they answer the questions before they schedule a call. That makes it a lot easier on me because I can already qualify the client, see what their issues are, and do any research before I even call them. So that made it a lot easier as well.
And that's an important point because when you qualify your prospects, it makes the sales call that much easier. Like,
Exactly.
you have to know what type of client you're looking for, and then you can ask those questions in your questionnaire so that you do get the clients that, once they get on the phone with you, they're going to be ready to book already. So you were able to bring in clients and prospects that would be more likely to book you as their financial advisor.
Right.
So so you got 7 calls. How did you get those 7 calls?
Those 7 calls were all from the webinar. It was from growing that tribe, from really connecting with them, and then from that webinar, the way we positioned it was, I presented the content, and if they wanted extra, if they wanted that extra value, then they could have scheduled that call, and that's how it went.
And I just saw Ty popped in the chat box. Hey Ty. So after the webinar, and we put the webinar together, the both of us, and you did a lot of the content, but there are a couple things that we needed to tweak just to make sure that it was leading naturally into, them scheduling a call with you. When you presented the webinar, like I said, I think you did a great job. I was watching, and I was, in the chat box talking to people, and it was very engaging. And you had the opportunity at the end to say, okay, let's schedule a call. So you got 7 calls from the webinar. What happened next?
So from that 7, because the call was free. So after I had scheduled those calls, it was up to me to qualify that particular that lead or prospect and to get them to sign up with one of my coaching packages.
And so from there, like you said, you were able to book 4 clients.
Right.
So let's say you did that webinar again next month, and then again the next month, and then again the next month. And I think this is what we talked about. Like, now you have a process and a system to help you consistently bring in clients.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the webinar is just it's just one strategy. Like I said, I think the webinar is a great strategy. There are some other strategies where you can bring in clients. I have people who book calls with me after reading an ebook, after watching a video series, after watching a Periscope, after coming to a webinar. So there are many different ways to sort of bring people into your sales funnel. And that's actually module 4, where we talk about sales funnels. But the webinar is a really good way. And since Kevin was already really good with video and live video, I knew that the webinar would be a great one for him and high impact. So now that everything is sort of wrapped up, you got your, you were able to increase your income by 285%, which is awesome. Did that came from the books and the coaching clients, correct?
Yes.
And then, you booked 3 clients, you increased your book sales by 30%. Is there anything else that changed from, before you were working with me to afterwards?
I would say the biggest thing that's changed is that people seem to reach out to me more. I think because I now have a tribe and I have a way to access the tribe, I know 2 days ago someone had asked me just questions about, what's a stock and how that works. Beforehand, I didn't get many people who would actively ask me questions on Twitter or Periscope or Facebook. But now it seems like I have an eager audience, and they're trusting and hungry to get information from me, and they see me a lot more of an expert because I've kind of cultivated a tribe and an audience that's ready to listen and learn.
And that's amazing. That's a very key point, that you do have a trusting audience. You are taking care of them. You are providing them with value, and in turn they're willing to sort of follow you and and learn from you. So I think that's great. I also I always say that all of my clients, like, they're all my favorite clients, but I think you did a really great job. Like I said, I would set up the homework, and you actually had a lot of homework each time we had a call. I don't know if you realize that. But based on some of the work that I've done with other clients, like, you had a lot of homework, creating and scripting an entire webinar, like putting up all of those pages on your site, and you handled everything. I saw you working on the weekends or whatnot. And that's kind of what you have to do to get started. How many hours do you feel like you sort of worked on the stuff that we were putting together in a week? How many hours in a week?
Okay, yeah, in a week. I want to say probably 4 to 5. It really depends. Because I would, if I get homework, I'd like to split it up over a few days instead of doing it at once. And then depending on the type of task, so like for me, I'm not a website person, so it can take me a long time to get some stuff done. But I would say 4 to 5 hours probably.
And 4 to 5 hours, that's actually perfect. Exactly what I'm doing in 30 Days of Client Praise. I've set it up to where the lessons are short and sweet, and the homework that you have to do is going to require about 4 to 5 hours a week. So, if you already have a job, you can do it on the weekends, you can do it at night, and you'll be able to keep up with it because you have, those short, small, bite-sized lessons. So, Kevin, is there anything else that you want to share with us? Anything that you felt before we got started? Anything that you felt after, or anything that we haven't touched on that you want to share?
I would say that it was definitely worth the investment. That's how I saw it coming in. Just as an investment person, if I'm going to spend money with anyone, no matter what it can be $5. Am I going to get my $5 worth? And I definitely got my investment worth, because not only did I get the upfront changes, I got the tools and everything up front, but I really feel like I have enough knowledge and structure to take my business to the next level.
And that's really good to hear. I know on our final call, I was like, do you feel like you have what you need to move forward and grow from here? And that was one of the things that you said, that you do feel that way. Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you for joining me tonight, Kevin. Don't go anywhere yet. I'm going to do a quick screen share. And if you're watching this right now and you haven't yet had the opportunity to enroll, if you'll just go to 30daystoclientpraise.com. Enrollment is closing soon, and the classes are actually starting in just a couple of days. So go ahead and enroll, grab your spot, and don't wait, because the longer that you wait, the longer you're going to wait for your business to increase and improve. So go ahead to 30daystoclientpraise.com. It's just 302 is TO, and then clientpraise.com. So 30TO clientpraise.com, 30daystoclientpraise.com. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. Actually, I have my glasses on, and I just popped them off, but and I guess we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for joining me tonight, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right.